Y'all know what's going on. It's time for another episode of Doing Time with Joe. I'm your host, Joe Baker, and welcome to the show, y'all. Look here. Shirley just got off the phone with Sam, right? She's on her way to meet him. You understand what I'm saying? He's got her son held hostage. Her husband's in the hospital, about left here because Sam done gave one of them old bad batches of dope trying to take him on up out of here because he's pissed at the way Shirley talked to him. You know what I'm saying? His head's so big he can't even seem to understand that ain't everybody scared of him. Not at all. Especially, Shirley coming straight up out the penitentiary, extra crisp, ain't trying to hear nothing. You know what I mean? She ain't scared of nothing. She been there, done that now. So she ain't trying to hear that. She about her family, she about her husband, she about her son. And he is talking all this nonsense, but she understand the game. She trying to get her son back. She wants to move on with her life. So she gave the DA a call, and the DA came real hard, and now it's going down. Now she's got to get up there and she got to get Sam to say some things that's going to incriminate himself so the DA can tie him up in a bowl. Simple as that. And she ain't playing. And the DA's not playing either. So she gets to the spot. Sam ain't seeing it coming, right, because he got the big head. So he gets up in there and he's talking to her and she's telling him, look, I don't want to hear none of that. Let me see my son. And he tells her, you can see your son when I get my stuff. I told you what it was. You get him back when I get my stuff. Strike one. Strike one right there. You feel me? But he don't know that yet. So he keep talking to her. She keep talking to him. She tell him, look, I didn't want to do this in the first place. When my husband first talked me into doing this, I was against it. But I went on with it. And I've regretted it from the day that I went into that penitentiary. He said, back to her, you knew what it was. You were greedy. You wanted that $10,000 so you could live a better life. Y'all working class people working at a factory. I don't have to work at a factory. I get up and I leave and go when I want to go, do what I want to do because I got street money. You took that money. You knew you was going in there to rob and you took that stuff for me. And then your husband wanted to keep it away from me. That's my stuff. And then he sold my stuff to somebody else. I took the money and I want my stuff back or I'm going to do something to your child. As simple as that. He said, but before we get all of that, something else I need you to do. She looked at him. He don't know. He done already did what? Committed strike two. She got everything she need. But she looked at him. She said, now what else is it? He said, look, we can work something out. If you do some things for me, I'll be patient. And I'll wait, because I know you ain't got it. I know you ain't got my stuff. He sold it to somebody else. But me and you can work out something on the side. He ain't even got to know nothing about it. And you can take your son and go home tonight. She stood there for a minute. And she looked at him. She said, there ain't no way in the world that I would do anything with you. No way in the world. She said, you took my son away from me. And she walking forward towards him now, y'all. She said, you tried to take my husband away from me. She takes another couple of steps towards him. And she said, now, I'm going to take something from you. Now, he's standing in front of her, but he's some stairs. There's like a couple of stairs, you know what I'm saying, the steps that she would have to step on to get up to him and be face to face with him. So he's standing a little bit above her, and he puts his arms out. He said, what can you do to me? And she looked at him, and she said, yellow canary. And he said, what? And she said, yellow canary. And he said, what is a yellow canary? And about that time, the front doors burst open. SWAT team coming in. I'm talking about in, like they, you know how they come in the lines and one behind the other and the one got their hand on the other one's shoulder now, and they coming in like that. And then as they come in, they split and they went around the room and then right down the middle. I'm talking about right down the middle of them, you saw the DA standing behind a couple of officers, right? And everybody's got that thing trained on him. I'm talking about he had so many red dots running across him, man. Look here. You'd have think he was in a carnival or something, man. And they said, get on the ground. Get on the ground. And then a couple of the other officers, they swung around, and they going through the place, and then they see that little Tim is in the back with some other kids. They sleep. The kids is in the back sleep. His kids that he's got and little Tim all in the back sleep, oblivious like kids are in most situations when they're that young to what's really going on. They get him down on the ground, they got him handcuffed, and they pick him up. And DA walks over to her just for dramatic effect. He put his hands on her shoulder. He said, "You did good." And then she reaches up under her blouse and she rips her breast that was taped on the microphone right between her breasts. She rips it loose, pulls it out, and then reaches behind and pulls out the tape recorder, and she hands it to the DA. And the whole while she's staring him right in the face, looking at him, because she's not afraid of him anymore. She's not afraid anymore. And she said, "Now you know what I'm finna do for you. The same way you jeopardized my freedom, my son, my husband, now you're gonna have to deal with the same thing, because you finna go away for a long, long time." And the DA looked at him, and he looked at the officers and said, "Get him out of here. Get him out of here." And they walked him up out of there. And he's looking back. And I'm going to tell you something. See, people in the streets, right? See, when we get put in situations like that, we don't want to admit that we've lost. We don't want to admit that we've lost. Conceited way. He looked back and he said, "I'll be out tonight. I'll make bond tonight. I got money." The DA looked at him and says, "Everything you got, we finna take. So you won't be getting out tonight, tomorrow night, or for the next 30 years. So when he looked at the DA, they already got you. And the DA held up the wire. He said, "With what we got on this tape, you might not ever set your feet on free world soil again." Sam looked at him, put his head down, tucked his tail, and they led him on out. Put him in the back seat of the car. Took him on down to the station. Shirley went in the back, grabbed her son, and was hugging him. He wakes up, don't know what's going on at all. Wakes up, "Mommy, Mommy." And she kisses him, picks him up, calling the other parents so they can come over to get him, the ones that, needed to come over to get him and whatnot, because they didn't want to take the kids into custody. So, but she went on home. And when she went home, she felt for the first time like everything was going to be okay. And her parents, they stayed with her that night. And Tim's parents, all of them stayed with her that night because they wanted her to feel safe. And the next morning, they all got up and together, they went to the hospital to see Tim. And when he opened his eyes, he saw Shirley standing there holding their son, Tim. And a tear rolled down his face. He couldn't talk because they had the tubes down his throat, the wires and all of this on him. And Tim Jr., not understanding how serious it is, started reaching. You know how kids do, babies do, start reaching for stuff and pulling them loose, right? And the nurses is telling them, no, you can't do that. And they started to remove the stuff real slowly. And Tim Jr. is looking at eyes wide open like he think it's a game or something. It ain't a game though. But he don't know that. He don't know that. And he's looking at his dad later, and then he leans forward, almost falling out of his mother's arms, and he lays on top of his daddy, trying to comfort his daddy. He know now dad is sick. And he feels like if he lay on top of him, he gonna heal him up. because when he's been, you know what I'm saying, in the past, in his short little life, and his tummy hurt or whatever, he had to lay on daddy, and daddy would make him feel better. So now he gonna lay on top of daddy, and hopefully it'll make daddy feel better. That's what kids do. That's how they learn from us. But see, he didn't even realize that the things that he had just gone through were going to affect him for the rest of his life. He had no clue as to that, how serious the decisions, that how they were going to impact the next 20 years of his life. And it's something that most of us don't come to grips with. When we do things, the people that we love, even though some of them may not even be here yet, may not be born yet, they're going to be affected by the things that we do and the decisions that we make. So we got to be careful about those decisions that we make, and always consider what could happen, what could go wrong, and who is it going to hurt, and what can I do today, right now? For any of you out there listening, what can you do today? What can you do today to prevent any harm coming to anybody that you love and care about? And the short answer to that for you is this: do no harm. Think about the decisions that you're going to make and how they're going to affect people that you love, or the people that you may not even have met yet, or the child that you may not have had yet. Think about how a decision that would involve you doing something criminal or immoral would affect their lives, because Tim's life is going to be hampered with this. You're going to have to tune in to see, because it's going to continue to play out in ways that even they couldn't even imagine. And you're going to have to, like I say, tune in to see what that's about. This has been another episode of Doing Time with Joe. I'm your host, Joe Baker, and I say peace, y'all.